What a day. What a beautiful day. President John Jay, Chair, trustees, faculty, staff, families, and most importantly, of course, graduates. First of all, thank you for that honor just bestowed on me. You can tell from some of the things that John Jay said, it means a lot to me to get an honor like this from Harcum, because my story and that of my brothers and sisters is very similar to your story. So I'm grateful to be here with you today. You know, somebody once said that graduation speakers are a little bit like the body at an Irish wake. You know they have to be there, but nobody really expects them to say very much. And I know that's probably true. Nevertheless, it's my honor to be with you today. And it's an honor because I only have to be up here for a few minutes, but you and your families have been at it for years, all to get to this moment on this day, to get that piece of paper that means a lot more than just the few Latin words that are inscribed on it. So let's start with the shortest prayer that I know. Thank you. First of all, thank you to your professors, your counselors, your coaches, all those workers that fed you, that cleaned up after you these past few years. American historian Henry Adams said that, quote, a teacher affects eternity. They can never tell where their influence stops, unquote. And that is so true of all of these helpers, and I know that you will pay forward their generosity. Second, thank you to the parents, the guardians, the grandmoms and grandpops, the aunts and uncles, the husbands and wives, the brothers and sisters, the BFS, and for some of you, your children, as Tregan reminded us. Thanks to all of you for guiding these graduates to these days. We thank you for the role that you've played in their lives. Nudging, prodding, pushing, propelling, coaxing, convincing, insisting, resisting, arm twisting, and sometimes even sweet talking them. You came with them today, and it wasn't just to drive the car. You came because you made them, because you love them, and because now you are brave enough to really let them go. They say courage is the first virtue, and we thank you all for showing it in abundance on this day. The courage to let them step onto that bus, the first day of kindergarten, and the courage it will take to let them walk away from this beautiful lawn today, leaving all of us just a little bit behind. So graduates, let's do it again. Let's give your family, your loved ones, the big hand they all deserve. But finally, in terms of thanks, let's talk about the graduates for a minute. Wow, you are a determined and resilient and steadfast and tenacious and indefatigable group. Why did I use all those $5 words to describe you? Well, let's think about it for a second. High school, probably half of you never had a high school graduation because of COVID. College, no matter where you stand on the political spectrum, you've had an unprecedented 4 years. The first attack on the US Capitol in our history, the reversal of landmark Supreme Court decisions, and a pandemic that took 6 million lives on this globe. And now graduation day, wars in Ukraine and Gaza, a former president on trial, and the largest campus protests in this century, all happening the week that you leave us. You have lived through an era of mass shootings, culture wars, info revolution, and the landing on the moon impact of AI. You should be exhausted and anxious. I would be, but you're not, because you are determined and resilient and steadfast and tenacious and indefatigable. You made it to this finish line. The 40% of you who are the first generation in your family to go to college. The 45% of you who had already started your full-time work lives before you ever got here. And the 100% of you who have a lot more going on in your lives than just going to college, working another job or two, caring for elderly family members, raising a family, and so much more. So we thank you. We congratulate you. My goodness, we worship you on this day. Thank you so much for what you've done. Let's give these grads an ovation. You know, there's actually a formula for speeches like this. You congratulate people, you challenge them, and then you give them a charge going forward. Well, we've done some of the congratulations, much more of that to come. But let's talk a little bit about the challenge. You know, there's an American humorist named Art Buchwald before most of your time. Very funny guy. He gave these 2 sentences as his entire speech at a college graduation. Quote, "We gave you a perfect world, period. Don't mess it up, period." Unquote. Really, that's all he said. And I'm quite certain that everyone there that day still remembers it. I can't say that because we didn't give you a perfect world, that is. We left you more problems than my generation inherited, and I matriculated in the middle of the Vietnam War. You started college during the scourge of a pandemic. You're ending it with nightly video of 2 horrific wars. And you grew up in the middle of a different kind of war, the information war. In fact, information overload pretty much defines your era. And that's because some of you came of age during 2 decades of the most intense change this planet has ever known in all its billions of years of reforming itself. What do I mean by that? Let me give you some numbers. 4, 10, 250,000, and 1 million. 4 as in exabytes. That's 4 times 10 to the 19th power of unique new information that will be generated in the world this year. More information than was generated in the past 50 centuries together. 10, as in the warp speed of technology. Think about it. When the radio was invented, it took 38 years to reach an audience of 50 million people. Facebook, it took about 2 years. I'm going to guess that Beyonce and Taylor Swift, maybe 10 minutes. Third number, 250,000. That's the average number of electronic messages that you have received in your lifetimes, whether they're TikToks or FaceMail or Instagram or whatever it is that you're using. And if you're like my sons, it's probably more than that. And lastly, the million, as in we are fast approaching 1 million words in the English language. That's 5 times more than Mr. Shakespeare had to work with. There's more information delivered to your iPhone in an hour than your parents, I'd say probably in the course of this speech, than your parents consumed in a week at your age, your grandparents in a year, your great-grandparents perhaps in their lifetime. You carry in your pockets a smartphone that has more computing power than NASA did when it put a man on the moon. And with all that information comes responsibility. And that is your challenge going forward. You know, the pessimists say that all of this technology has created a world where the new arms race is between facts and fake news. A world where the internet is less a resource and more an armament. Where personal opinions don't exist, only algorithms. And a world where things called memes and bots can misrepresent the truth and disgorge disinformation all in a microsecond. And when you hear all that, it sounds like an atom bomb just exploded in our information ecosystem. It all sounds pretty grim. Simultaneous to that, you have grown up with tons of interest groups competing to tell you what is the truth. Some of them profit off your attention. Some of them play on your emotions. Some of them move us to anger. Anne Applebaum studies all this for a living, and she says the question of what truth is has plagued politics since politics began. Bullies, whether on the campaign trail, over the internet, or in the schoolyard, have, quote, always tried to intimidate, gaslight, polarize, and scapegoat, unquote. Only now they do it electronically and try to wear us out with a constant barrage of argument. The fiction's fired faster and further than ever before. And all that information has made it harder for you to develop the 3 Ds of critical thinking: the ability to decipher, the ability to distinguish, and the ability to discern. But hey, the truth is that none of these problems are new, and especially not to you. And that's the reason I'm in awe of all of you. All this epistemic chaos, this stuff, doesn't scare you because you grew up with this. And being skeptical of information and of the institutions that produce it, that's part of your DNA. You have been building and refining your own internal fact checkers your whole lives. And you have done some of that right here at Harcum. In your drive to give every opinion equal time, don't forsake your search for what is true, what is accurate, what is really happening. Not what a certain swath of public opinion says is happening, not what some AI construct tells you is happening, but what you have learned by listening, researching, evaluating, validating, verifying, talking, and listening again. All of those skills that you have learned here at Harcum, in conversations, through interactions, by exchanges with real human beings, not just computer-generated algorithms. That's your responsibility now, and that is the challenge that comes with the Harcum degree that you received today. That challenge, helping us sort through the detritus and get to the facts, is really what it means to participate as a citizen in a democracy. The bottom line, you're already teaching us on this side of the rostrum how to deal with this information overload, and we are paying attention. My generation desperately needs your generation to lead us. And today I'm challenging you to take that lead for your family, in your profession, and in your community. And that challenge is about protecting truth in a digital world. And you will do that by protecting and refining your analog and your human skills as well. In that quest, we need you, and we need your leadership. And that is your challenge. You know, neither Harcum nor I can give you any easy solution as you wrestle with all this. We don't have a lifeboat that will help you navigate everyday life with everlasting change. But, you know, often at this point in the speech, as you get to the end, the speaker will come up with, here's 10 rules to live by, here's 10 things not to do, and there's some really attractive and funny ones. I don't have any of that today. I just want to leave you with 3 things that I have learned in my life, and really through my family and my ancestors, 3 things that I know are true. And I want to leave you with these. The first thing that I know is true, forget all the digital stuff, all the analog. I know this is true. The happiest people in the world don't necessarily have the best of everything. They just make the best of everything. My dad worked in an electronics factory his whole life. Never made a big salary, never had a big job title. My mother was the only child of depression-fatigued parents, gave birth to and raised 12 children. Never complained about the dozens of carpool assignments every week, never forgot to have some dinner in the oven for whoever was the last one to get home from practice. The 2 of them worked the busiest carnival at our church every year. The Mothers and Fathers Club at each of our schools counted on them. My father coached every team at our little grade school. He worked every chicken barbecue for every good cause in our small town. And my mother fed everybody we dragged through the kitchen door with us. They were family people first and community people right after. When my father died, it was the biggest funeral our little town ever had. We had 2,500 people came, and every single one of them had a story. My parents didn't have the best of everything, but they sure made the best of everything, and that's the best advice I can give you today. Make the best of what you have. Better yet, share some of it on a team, in a family, with your community. That will make all the difference. So the first thing that I know is true is that the happiest people in the world don't necessarily have the best of everything, but they sure know how to make the best of what it is that they have. The second thing I have learned in my life that is true is this: kindness is truly the universal language. Charity is the primary, but not the only form of kindness. You knew that before you came to Harcum. Sometimes clarity is a form of kindness too, knowing when to tell someone what they need to hear and not just what they want to hear. And your best friends know exactly what I'm talking about there. The soldier and diplomat Colin Powell once said that being kind doesn't mean being soft. I think he meant that kindness is not just some coefficient of niceness. Kindness is often just appreciating the fundamental dignity in another human being, recognizing that another person deserves your respect and maybe sometimes help to bring out the best in them as a result. So it's important to remember, too, that the opposite of kindness is not strength, it is cruelty. So kindness in all its forms is the universal language. And there's an uncommon shared strength in it. As wartime President Franklin Roosevelt once said, human kindness has never weakened the stamina or softened the fiber of a free people. A nation does not have to be cruel in order to be tough, unquote. Neither does a person. The last truth that I have learned in my lifetime, it's all about the stories, the ones you tell, the ones you write, and from this day forward, the ones you live. At our son Matt's graduation, Nobel Peace Prize winner Elie Wiesel said that the universe is not made up of atoms, it is made up of stories. Well, if he is right, and I certainly think he is, your ancestors brought remarkable stories with them on their journeys. And some of you, as Tregan reminded us, are just beginning to tell their stories here in America. We know that there are 282 stories, different stories, inspired stories, stories of quiet perseverance and of exuberant and well-deserved celebration. All those stories right here at this graduation. Some of you are sprinting across the finish line today with arms held high in triumph. Some of you crawled the last few meters or miles. Different stories, different places, different faces. But today, each of your sagas has the same chapter line, graduation day. And whether you ran, walked, or crawled, whether you are exhilarated or exhausted, you did it. We thank each of you for the special story of your family that led you to Harcum. We applaud your whole family for having the courage to let you go out and write the next chapter in the story of your family. We ask only that you believe in yourself when you leave here, because you have every reason to, after what you have accomplished on this day. And maybe along the way, learn to believe in something or maybe someone else that you encounter in the journey that is your story. So please accept our congratulations, embrace the challenge, and don't forget those simple truths. You make the best of what you have, like my folks did. Kindness is really the universal language, and it's all about your story. So go out and work hard, play hard, think hard, and think critically. Take some chances along the way. And always remember that the shortest prayer is the two words that we started off with today. Thank you. Thank you very much.